She was really one of the most open clients I've had in a long time. Lala Kent was so emotional, and it was one of those times where it was really just needed and timely, and she just kind of, the floodgates came down and there's just so many tears. But people ask me all the time if seeing people cry is uncomfortable for me, and it's really not in these cases because they're necessary tears. They're a release of emotion, and you know, I think she needed them. She just lost her dad and then just going through all this stuff, and what was so special was that as he came through, there was this acknowledgement of all of these things she was doing, and he actually came through and acknowledged certain aspects of things that she hadn't even talked about publicly. So those personal validations for her, I think, were really emotional. It's one thing when you're meeting with someone that lost a loved one 10 years ago and they've had time to process it and really kind of come to a certain level of acceptance around it. But in this situation with her, this was really wide open. It was still very much, you know, she was deep in her grief. So that really reflected in the reading, and I think a lot of the validations that came through will actually benefit her more later on than even in that moment. I actually think she was so immersed in her grief, she couldn't even really process it. Jill brought along her sister and then another family member and her daughter, and they were all there, and they were actually able to validate a number of things that Jill didn't even recognize. So I was getting all this stuff and Jill was like, I don't know. And then her sister would jump in the reading and say, oh, it's this, and then her daughter would jump in and say, it's this. So the reading was literally like like an open door. People were coming in and out and leaving, and there was a lot going on. But it kind of embodied the energy of our day. We played tennis right before the reading, Jill and I, which was very strange. I wasn't expecting that one. She acknowledged tennis really helped her get through her grief, and it was something that was an outlet for that.
Did Bobby come through?
He did, yes. Very in-depth. You'll have to watch the episode because it's so many validations, I won't even do it justice, like describing it. It was just insane. When I sat down with her, she was very, very pregnant, and we actually did the reading at a baby store, which was apt. And as I sat with her, I was connecting with a number of loved ones. It's the weirdest thing. There was this maternity bag, and there were all these things on shelves, and as we're doing the reading, the maternity bag flew off the shelf behind Kenya, like during the reading, and we caught it on camera. So you'll see that this season. That was pretty weird, and that just happened on its own. And it was a validation that clearly people were there and present. Sometimes they'll pick up on the genders of children, other times not. Sometimes they even find that someone has to be at a certain level of pregnancy for me to be able to kind of intuit it. It was actually interesting, there was more information about the pregnancy and just kind of like certain things to like keep in mind and avoid, and you know, dealing with complications with the pregnancy. So I think it was just preventative more than anything. For me, the biggest takeaway with that was actually Eddie's health. So before anything was known publicly about any of his heart issues, I saw it very clearly and was like, you need to keep this in mind. This is a serious thing. She validated it. It wasn't something they were public with at the time, and it was really specific, and it's made sense in light of recent events with his health. So again, it's just a preventative tool, and I think it's a beneficial thing if we can listen to it. If you look at him, he looks strong and handsome and great, but I just couldn't ignore the fact that I kept being drawn to his chest and his heart, and I kept getting a feeling of like an odd heartbeat and something like skipping a beat, and it didn't make sense. Then I saw electrical activity, and all of it was very conducive to a much older person. So I knew that clearly that wasn't normal, and that's why I mentioned it, and it ended up being true. Scheana Shay, yes. I remember her grandma, I remember her name was Maxine, randomly I can remember that. And she came through, and it was really a very emotional experience because she actually was able to relay some messages for her mother as well. So it was a family affair, which always really helps. I think it's beneficial when a message doesn't just affect one person, it kind of has that ripple effect.
Hi, it's Stassi from Vanderpump Rules. Click here to subscribe to the Bravo channel and here to watch more videos from Vanderpump Rules.